Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make this delicious Caribbean meal. I am doing some stewed pork with pigeon peas, some callaloo, pumpkin rice, fried dumplings, and fried plantains. If you're from the Caribbean, I already know you know what's up. But if you're in the USA, if you've never had this meal before, honey, you are absolutely going to love it. Now I have some pork spare rib tips. They're just like the ends of some pork ribs, and your butcher will sell them for really cheap. $2.29 a pound is really affordable, and this is a great cut of meat for stewing because it has the bone and it also has some fat and it has a good amount of meat on it. Now, of course, you guys know I'm going to wash my meat and I'm going to put a little vinegar on it to clean it. I do like to show this just because I know some new people, they don't know how to do it. So I'm just going to show you how it's done. I like to agitate mine, but you do not want to be flicking water all around the place. That's going to spread germs. Then I will strain it in my colander and put it under my bowl so that I don't drip any meat juice. I'm then going to be drying off my pork with a paper towel. And of course, you need to clean your sink and your hands with some Dawn. I'm going to prep my pork by cutting off some of the excess fat. Now, I am in no way afraid of having fat in my food, but this pork is going to let off a lot of fat, and there's a lot of fat marbling in between the meat, so I don't want it to get too oily. But you'll also see me skim off a lot of the excess fat once I'm done stewing the pork. I'm going to season my pork with 2 tablespoons of green seasoning. This already has some ginger, garlic, scallion, thyme. All that is already in this blended up. I'm also going to use 1 packet of sazon that will give it a good color and flavor, some curry powder, thyme, and powdered ginger, and some sazon tropical. Y'all know I love this stuff right here. Okay, I'm going to put about a teaspoon of it on here and about a teaspoon of salt, but I will salt to taste as I stew my pork. I'm then going to mix this up well, and I'm going to allow this to marinate at room temperature for about 30 minutes. Now, we all know the best is overnight, but honey, when I'm filming, I ain't trying to do all of that sometimes, okay? So 30 minutes of room temperature worked for me. I'm then going to start making my browning. I have a heavy bottom skillet, and I'm going to put in a tablespoon of coconut oil and about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I have my heat on about medium high. And I am just going to continuously stir this until you start getting like some dark black bubbles forming. Now, if you put your meat in too early, your meat gonna be sweet. Okay, you put it in too late, it's gonna, your stew is gonna taste burnt. So it's really all about timing. When it gets about right here, you need to immediately go ahead and put in your meat so that you can stop it from getting too dark. I'm going to spread out my meat, and then I'm going to let it sort of sit without stirring it for about 3 to 4 minutes to let the color develop on the pork. Then I'm going to go in and turn it. But you see how black and it's getting on that pork. That's going to give your stew a really good color. Then I'm going to turn it to the other side and let it sit for about 3 minutes as well. This is all for flavor development. Now I'm really ready to start stewing, so I'm going to put in 1 onion diced, and I'm also going to put in some scallion chopped up, as well as a bay leaf, some fresh thyme, some allspice, and I'm going to just cover this on about medium-low for about 5 minutes. There's a lot of juice in that pork, and you want the juices to come out of the pork and come out of the vegetables so that you don't end up adding too much water to your stew. You want that natural broth. And as you can see, there is some water that has come out. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of ketchup. And then I'm just going to start adding enough water just to help it stew. As well as a Scotch bonnet, baby. That's for flavor. And I'm also going to put in a chicken bouillon cube. I will dissolve that in. I'll add a little bit more water. There's no specific measurement on the water. And I'm going to cover this up, and I'm going to let this simmer on medium-low for in total about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Then I'm going to start putting in my pigeon peas as well as my carrots. I do not put these in at the very beginning because they will stew to mush if you cook them for 1 hour and 15 minutes. Honey, and ain't nobody going to like that, okay? So I am going to cook these items as well as some coconut milk. Now, I know everyone doesn't put coconut milk in stew, but it is really good in this stew. And I put in the whole can. I really like this brand here. And I am going to stew this covered for about 30 minutes. This is enough time for the carrots to get soft, as well as the pigeon peas to take on the flavor of what is in the stew. You're gonna know everything is ready when you can pick up that pork and it just cuts with a spoon, honey. All right, that's you know it's tender. Okay, then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna scrape off some of that fat, because you don't need all of that, baby. And you know what? This stew is done. The next thing we're gonna cook is this pumpkin rice. This is so good. I'm gonna put some coconut oil and about a half of a small onion into my pot, as well as a tablespoon of green seasoning. And I'm going to just saute this with a little bit of curry powder and allspice and some thyme for just about 1 minute, just stirring it continuously to get that aroma coming out. Next, I am using about 1.5 cups of pumpkin. For my pumpkin today, I have decided to use some butternut squash, since that is what I had. And I'm also going to just toast that for about 30 seconds. Now, you really do need to cook the pumpkin before you put in the rice, because you know pumpkin is hard. So I'm adding 2 cups of water, as well as 1 cup of coconut milk. And I'm going to also put in some seasonings. I am going to use about 1 teaspoon of honey. You could also just use sugar, half of a teaspoon of this Sazon Tropical, and then I'll put in about 1.5 teaspoons of this Vegeta. Vegetable bouillon would work perfectly. I just don't want the chicken bouillon flavor in this. You know what I'm saying? You don't want chicken and everything. I'm then going to put in some scallion, and I'm going to allow this to simmer about 10 minutes until this butternut squash is soft. I can just press it with a spoon and it will crush. Now I'm going to do a combination of crushing some of the pumpkin and also just letting some of it be whole. You could actually crush all of it if you would like. I'm putting in 1.5 cups of rice. I'm going to mix this in, cut the heat to low, and let this simmer for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, I went in and I checked on my rice and I fluffed it a little bit, and I felt like it could actually cook a little bit longer. So I just mixed it up with some chopsticks. I like to use chopsticks because it keeps your rice separated and it keeps it not from getting gummy. Then I just cooked it for about 5 more minutes and it was perfect. Honey, it was delicious actually, okay? Now let's work on these fried dumplings. I have the easiest fried dumplings for you. It's no need. We're just going to do it all in a food processor. I'm putting 1 cup of flour, as well as 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of butter in my food processor. And I'm just going to blend this until the butter is cut into the flour. Then I'm going to add in about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. This is really more for an aroma. I really could have put it in with the other dry ingredients, but y'all know I forgot, okay? Then I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of milk, and I'm going to just blend this until it comes together into a nice, well-formed dough ball, okay? I'm going to let the processor do the work for me, okay? That's why I buy appliances, because I ain't trying to do all that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I know you know what I'm saying. Give me a like if you understand me, all right? Then you're going to have your dough ball looking like this. I put it in a bowl and I just let it set for about 10 minutes just to let the dough rest. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut this into 6 equal dumplings. Of course, if you want more dumplings, you can just double the recipe. Now, if you have been enjoying this video so far, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And baby, you better subscribe, because you know I am bringing you these full meals every week. I'm giving you variety, okay? And y'all know the people in the comments can tell you if they done tried my recipes, they know that I can throw down. And if you follow these recipes, baby, you're going to be able to throw down, okay? So go ahead and join the family, dear. Now, once I have my dumplings cut, I'm going to then form them into sort of these flat disc shapes like this, and I will just put them aside on the plate. While I have been doing this, I've had about 1 cup of oil heating up in a little saucepan on medium heat. You actually don't want to cook your dumplings on a high heat, or else the inside is going to be raw. I test out the oil just by putting in a little dough ball. If it fizzes immediately when you put it in, and then a few seconds later it just rises up, you know that your dough is hot enough. I'm then going to go in and put my dumplings in. I'm going to just put 3 in at a time. You'll see them rise right on up. And I am going to continuously flip these. I don't want it to get too dark on one side, and I want it to cook evenly. It is very important that your heat is not up too high while you're cooking this, because the outside will brown, but the inside will be raw. I'm going to cook these anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes. It's going to depend on the temperature of your oil until they get nice and golden brown. And y'all, I just love me some delicious fried dumplings. They're going to look like this. And I'm going to put them to the side so they can sit on a paper towel. While I've been frying these dumplings, I went ahead and cut up some plantains, and in the same oil, okay, I just cut the heat up a little bit on the oil because plantains can fry at a little bit of a higher temperature. I'm just going to fry these plantains until they are nice and golden brown. This was a semi-brown plantain, so these are nice and sweet. And then I'm going to start to prepare my callaloo. Now, baby, have you heard of callaloo? I know if you're from the Caribbean, I know you have, but have my other folks, have y'all had this before? This is like a Jamaican spinach. It's very similar to American spinach, but it has a little bit of an earthy taste. And this comes in a can, so I don't really need to do much. Just saute a little butter and onion with a little garlic, and I drain out the brine that is in it. And then I'm going to add this, and I'm just going to warm it up in the pan for about 2 or 3 minutes. I am going to season it just with a little bit of that Vegeta, but you could use a little bit of chicken bouillon, just a little pepper, and baby, you know what? Then you got you some callaloo, honey. This stuff is good, okay? You'll be able to find canned callaloo at a Caribbean store. I also have found it at Compare Foods. I've never seen it at Walmart, but I feel like if you go to an African store, Caribbean store, they will definitely have it. Now I'm going to show y'all the inside of these dumplings. I just thought this was so delicious, and as you can see, it is nice, it is fluffy, and it is not raw. And it has a nice, delicious golden crust. I hope you guys love this meal. I had so much fun making this for you all. I hope you all remember that I love you and Jesus loves you. And I pray that all of you guys will be blessed in this season of your life. I know I'll see you next time in Kamira's Kitchen, so I'll see you then. Goodbye.